Welcome to Let It Be. I'm Vanessa, and this is my little corner of music YouTube. I'm going to start a series where I put the spotlight on live albums. I'm going to start with some of the ones in my collection, and then I'm going to look at some of the more highly regarded ones that I might not have, and just go from there. Just to give a little bit of attention to something that often gets overlooked a little bit in our sphere of YouTube. Like a lot of the time, we focus on studio albums and discographies, and live albums kind of get left to the side. So I'm going to give them a little love here. So the one I'm going to start with today is a big famous one and put this band on the map, and that is At Budokan by Cheap Trick. Try not to get that glare there. So yeah, this was a lot of people's introduction to Cheap Trick. I guess before this, they weren't having a lot of commercial success, even though they'd had a couple albums at that point. And and some of the versions of these songs are the ones that you still hear on the radio, and the ones that a lot of people are most familiar with. So it's an important one to take a look at. I'm a fan of the band. I would say I haven't heard everything. I haven't heard a lot of the later stuff. So I know that that can be a bit hit or miss and a bit rocky, but I'm familiar with all of the 70s albums, the early 80s albums, and I have actually heard their 1994 album recently, and it was a lot better than I expected it would be. So I think overall, they're a band that I quite like. Um, so yeah, this is a great live album. Of course, there's a reason why it has become famous because there's a lot of energy, not only from the band, but from the crowd. And the way that it's mixed and edited, you can kind of always hear the crowd a little bit. You're always aware that they're there. And I think that that adds this little bit of energy to the album as a listening experience. It's got that crackling live energy from everyone. So that kind of helps enhance things, I think. And it opens strong with Hello There, which is a pretty perfect way to open the show and the album. And I think that's something that they actually do maybe always, even now. I'm not sure. But yeah, I know it's long been an opening song for their concerts. Um, and then they kind of perfectly transition from that into the next song. It's a great rendition of Come On, Come On. And it's just it's pretty seamless, like, it's pretty cool. And then they have Lookout, which is a new song at this point, and I don't think it's actually ever been on any other album. I think it's a bonus track on the debut, but, it's a great fresh sounding power pop song, cool guitar solo. It's actually probably one of my favorite songs on this album. I really like it. And I do also really like the version of Big Eyes. It's enhanced by the live performance, even though I still think that the studio version is awesome too. Um, and Need Your Love was new at this point. It ended up being on Dream Police, and it's a big change of pace, and it's kind of something different than what a lot of people expect from them. Like a lot of people sort of associate them with the power pop sound and like those catchy songs, but this is a little more of like a longer, more guitar-based kind of like, I don't know, sprawling kind of song. I don't know. Um, it's a bit of a change of pace, kind of breaks things up, and it lets Rick Nielsen really show off on this song. Like, I think that's pretty cool. I like both the studio and the live version that it would eventually later appear. But I think that it just gives a nice break, and I think it would have been really cool to see if you were watching the show at the time. Like, it would have been a nice sort of different change of pace. Um, and after that, they do a cover, and they do a cover of Fats Domino's "Ain't That a Shame," and actually, that was apparently Fats Domino's favorite cover of that song. It's pretty cool. Maybe not my favorite on the album, but I still think it's pretty solid. And then of course we get the classic songs that everybody knows. We get the version, and to a lot of people, the definitive version of "I Want You to Want Me." It's a bit more energetic than the studio version, and it's the version most people associate with this song, and it was the one I heard first, of course. And yes, when you hear the studio version, it is a bit it's quite a bit different. It's got a bit of a different energy to it. It's a little poppier, a little more jaunty, and but I still like it. I think that they both versions suit the song, and it's nice that we have both, and I think that they both can coexist. I don't think that the studio version is somehow inferior to this version. I like them both. And then Surrender is next, of course, another big one, which is also great in both the studio and the live version. Um, I think I kind of hear those interchangeably in the wild, but I mean, I love both. They're both great. And those two really are like sort of like the pinnacle of the concert, I think. And really the spotlight of the album, of course, because they're the beloved songs. So that's a great point. And then everything sort of comes to a close with Good Night, which is this fun reworking of Hello There. And it's a nice touch to end the show. And again, like starting with Hello There, I think they often close with that too. And it's just kind of neat that they do that. It's kind of fun. And then there's an encore with the clock strike 10, and it's a great way to close things out. Feels like the perfect way to close the show on a high note. And really, I think because the way it flows and because you get those two really big songs closer to the end, it almost feels like it leaves you wanting more. Like it leaves you wanting a little bit more from this concert and to hear a few more songs. And in a way, that's a good thing. Like you're not feeling like because some live albums are really quite long, and by the end of it, you're like, okay, I'm good, because you're not there. You still want to feel like you're there a little bit, and you want to feel like you've got that experience, but you don't want to be exhausted by it either. And I think they've kind of got that balance here that leaves you wanting more. And I know that there is like an expanded version that has more that you can hear, but for right now, I'm just talking about the standard edition of this album. Now, a lot of people I've heard say that this is all you need from Cheap Trick. You don't need anything else, and that's it. And I really think that you're losing a lot if this is all you have, because I think they have some great studio albums. Two behind me, like the debut is awesome. Nothing from the debut is on this, so it's not represented at all, and that's a shame because there are some awesome songs on the debut. As well, only Surrender is from Heaven Tonight on there because it had just come out. He says that right on the album that it just come out that week that they did the show. So there was a lot of songs missing from that as well here. So yeah, I mean, even just if you consider those two albums, I think they are essential. But I also think that In Color, which I don't have here, but I do own, is essential too because it has a lot of the studio versions of the songs that they do here. And those are worth hearing and they're still great. And yeah, I definitely don't agree with the assertion that you only need at Budokan. I think you need more than that if you like them, and you're doing a disservice to yourself. But it is an awesome live album. It is definitely essential as part of a Cheap Trick collection or any music collection. I think that it is beloved for a reason. I would still give it probably, I think, a high 4 stars. I still like their studio output. My favorites from their studio output maybe a bit more than this because yeah, I just still think they're essential. And but this is a great listen. I always enjoy having it on, and yeah, that is at Budokan. So yeah, as I go through these live albums, I'm going to go through, like I said, some of the ones I own, which I do own some of the big ones, but I also own some kind of random ones too. But I think it's always interesting to explore just how successfully a live album lands and how it it conveys the performance and how enjoyable it is. So I think it's a new way of thinking about an album. I think you got to look at them a little differently than you would a studio album. So yeah, it's going to be fun to explore that. Now, what do you think of at Budokan? Do you think it's the only cheap trick that you need, or do you think that you need to have more to get a complete picture and that you'd be doing a disservice to yourself just having that one album? Just let me know. Bye, till next time.